Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for those joining. It's been a while since I've created this YouTube channel, but finally we are at the stage of actually uploading some valuable content to all those out there thinking of becoming an online teacher, those who are already established as online teachers. This year, we will be sharing some incredible content on this channel. Over the next few weeks, I have lined up some incredible teachers that have seen great success in their careers as online teachers. We've also lined up some interesting interviews with some staff members from online ESL schools from all over the world. We want to hear everyone's perspectives. We want to help you as either an aspiring online teacher or a working online teacher to be better at what you do and to build your career in a very significant way. And so for all joining, for those watching the recording of this video, thank you so much for being here today. I really do appreciate your time. And so helping us to kick off our very first live stream on the YouTube channel, we've got a very special guest who, in my opinion, has been sort of the GOAT of the people that I've been able to work with over the past few years that I initially helped start her career. She has done an incredible job in so many ways as an online teacher. And so I want to welcome Dezzi, who I believe, Dezzi, it was in 2021 or 2022 that you launched your career?
2022.
2022. So we're going on 2 years now. For you at least being an online teacher. Thanks so much for the time that you sacrificed to be here, Dezzi. I'm really excited for the audience to hear your story. I've been watching you probably every 4 or 5 months. I would go on to Preply and look at your stats, and every single time I'm like how many hours a week do you actually work? Because it's really, really impressive, and I want to get into a lot of that in our session today. So why don't we jump right into it, Dezzi? I want you maybe as we get started to give the audience a bit of an idea of who you were before you became an online teacher, what your life was like, and then we'll take it from there.
So I started off, I had my own business. I had my own business for 18, 19 years. I imported clothing from Italy and Greece, and I would sell them here. And so I had a thriving business. But then just after COVID, life took a big change. You couldn't travel, you couldn't buy things. And I think my whole perspective to life changed. And then, so that business just kind of petered out for me. I think I did it for too long. And then my daughter-in-law actually said to me, "Why don't you do this TEFL course?" I said, "Are you joking? I've never done anything like that before. I've never taught." And so just like after COVID, and everybody went back to work, and I was totally frustrated. I didn't know what I would do. I think I was 55 at that stage. Yeah. And I thought, no, I've still got too much to give. I can't sit at home and cook and bake and do nothing. And so I took on this course. I did the TEFL course. I think I did the 300-hour course, and I did the business English course because I thought, let me put my business expertise into play here. And I just did that. It took me a while. It took me 6 months. The 300-hour course took me about 5.5 months. So it took me a while. I can't say it was like cruising. It was difficult at the age of 55 to go back and to do assignments. That was my dread.
Yeah.
But I managed. With it. It was hard, but I managed. And yeah, and then it just took off.
That's great. And I love the fact that sort of you are the first person that we're interviewing on here, because we get a lot of people, or we've been getting them lately, that are in their 50s or even 60s and going, listen, I've got to be honest with you, I'm not sure if it's possible at my age. And I think you are such a good example of someone that you have significant, obviously, corporate background as well. And then you made a total career change and picked up something like online teaching, which is really exciting. So you mentioned briefly that your daughter was actually the one that encouraged you to at least investigate going into online teaching. You did the 3-hour or 300-hour TEFL course rather. Talk to us a little bit about the process once you've completed your 300 hours. What was the sort of time in between you actually being now a qualified TEFL teacher and you actually getting your first job working as an online teacher?
Okay. Okay. So that's what I found difficult. So I'd finished my course, and then I didn't do it with you because I didn't know about you guys. And then I started, which is the hardest part, starting to do your kind of your CV, your little blurb, and videoing yourself. And I was getting really, really frustrated. It was hard. Taping yourself and saying things and then retaping it and doing it again and again. And then applying to all these different places. And that's when I started to get really frustrated, because I think it was like 2 months and I hadn't found anything yet. And that's when I found you. And I thought, okay, I did the mentorship course with you. And I think like a week after I had done that and I had started doing my whole thing, I think I got a job started going from then. So it was really quick. And I know I had been through that. I had applied to maybe 20, and some of them didn't reply. Some of them said no. Obviously, I had no experience. And that was a very, very frustrating time. I think I could have thrown in the towel after that. But after doing it for 6 months, I thought, no, I can't do that after 2 months. And then I think I did the course with you, the mentorship course with you. I think within a week or two after that, after the course, I started applying. I handed you my CV. You fixed it up a little bit. You mentored me, and I got the job from then. And I haven't looked back since then.
Do you still remember where the first job was that you got?
Yes. Pioneer.
So Pioneer's
No. Hold on a second. The Chinese one. Hold on. What's it called? Pelfish. Pelfish.
Okay. Gotcha. And are you still teaching with them today, or?
Okay. I don't have very nice things. So I only I started teaching there, and I suppose it was cool to do. It was children and it was the Chinese kids, and it wasn't for me. There was no assistance from them. I didn't have any assistance. When you asked them for things, they didn't help you. They were rude. They were curt. They would penalize you for just anything,
Yeah.
And then I think I spoke to you, and you gave us a few options, and you mentioned Preply, and I think that's and I actually, since I've only done Preply, I've been working on Preply for 2 years, almost 2 years, a year and a half.
Yeah, and that's perfectly fine. And I think even looking back at your terrible experience with Pelfish, I mean, that's even valuable experience just to know how schools function, how they probably shouldn't function, how they should function, what payroll looks like. I always tell people that even if you have a bad experience with a school, it's still valuable experience because it helps you sort of to navigate your way from there on. So
absolutely, it's like you know what you don't want. I think you don't know what you don't know until you do it.
Exactly.
So I know that wasn't for me. Listen, for some people it's okay, and I know a lot of people enjoy it, but it wasn't for me. I didn't enjoy it. I have really made huge contacts and great friendships with the people on Preply. I have had students for a year and a half, for as long as I've been teaching. I've still got those students, a lot of them. So it's been for me. It's personal. Maybe I resonate with the people. I can communicate with them. We're the same. Whereas with Pelfish, I just couldn't communicate with them.
Of course. It's very like the fact that you still have students that started out with you on Preply is really commendable. You obviously are doing a good job with retaining students. What do you think it is? Like, if you had to give advice to people out there how to retain students, like, what do you think it is about your approach that makes students stay with you for a year and a half, 2 years, and even beyond that?
I ask myself that. I have students that maybe they just find we're the same. I'm Greek. I'm married to an Italian, and so I would say 90% of my students are Italian. Maybe 99% of my students are Italian. So they see something in common with me, and I can not only can I speak their language, but I I eat their food and I live their life, but just here in South Africa. And I have Greek students as well. I do have Ukrainians, and I have people from Poland, and I've had people from Switzerland. But I must say most of them are from Italy. And I think that the reason maybe why they stay is because it's familiar for them.
Yeah.
We've become friends.
Exactly. And they have something beyond just a professional relationship to connect with, which is something that I always tell people is really, really important. I'm curious to know, Dezzi, what were your first impressions when you joined the online teaching industry? Obviously, with Palfish, it was not very good, but share with us about the good and the bad as you got started on Preply and you got the hang of it a little bit more.
Okay, so I think when I started, and as you suggested to me, you said to me, put your price, because I remember I'd been trying for like 2 months and I didn't find anything. And you said to me, you said something that I really, and I tell everybody else that's spoken to me, you said, put your price down. Don't start. I think I had started at 12. And then I went right down, I went to 8. And then those people just came.
Yeah.
I must have had like 20 people a day trying to contact me. And that was like, whoa, And then, and I remember it was another thing that you said to me, and I put myself off. I muted myself because I just couldn't cope. And you said to me, don't do that. Rather put your price to a ridiculous amount. And then, if you get 1 or 2, you're winning 1 or 2. But then, and I went from 8 to 16. And at least it calmed down. But then I was getting the people at $16,
Yeah.
And so what was hard, I think the greatest thing that I did was go low, start getting the people in, learning. And I said to myself, this is ridiculous. For an hour, I'm working for $8, which was nothing. After they take 33% at the beginning. But I learned, I think I got confidence. I learned what I was good at, what I wasn't good at, what I needed to do. I learned how to communicate. I learned a lot in that time. So I used that time to just get experience and improve.
Yeah. And I do want to brag a bit, Dezzi, because I mean, as I said, like in every single mentorship group that I run, I pull up your profile on Preply and I just tell people, listen, I've never seen something as impressive as this. And
really?
By that, I mean my own profile as well. I didn't grow this fast. I've never seen anyone. I mean, you've been, let's say, in it for 18 months on Preply, right? Give or take, right?
Yeah.
I'm looking at your profile right now. You've got 47 active students, which is just absolutely ridiculous. You've taught just shy of 2,800 lessons. You have 31 reviews with a 5-star average, which is, I mean, absolutely well done. There's something that obviously you're doing right, but I think it's important to mention that you did not start with the $19 price tag. In fact, you started with, as you said, an $8 price tag, which is tough at the beginning, but it's the $8 lessons that will eventually get us to the $19 or $20 or $25 lessons eventually in our career.
Yes. It was hard. It was hard. I must say it was hard, but it was a learning curve for me, it's like an internship. It was an internship for me because I knew nothing, honestly, because when you get up there for the first time with your first student, I didn't have any practice. So it was good for me. It was good for
Excellent. Dezzi, why don't you share maybe one low point in your career as an online teacher, and then on the other hand, maybe one of the highlights that you've experienced?
So the low point is that, you can be teaching someone and it's going great. The next minute, they just disappear. That's something I still have to get used to. I hate it because here you are, you've given your heart and soul, and I do because I give everything. And then they just disappear and they don't tell you. And that frustrates me, I must say, because I would like them to say, listen, it's not working for me, or I'm working too hard, or it's just not right. It would be nice if you could just have somebody say, listen, I'm stopping now or whatever, but they don't. And that's the only thing that frustrates me. Say goodbye, or say it's working or it's not working, or I've done my thing. A lot of people say goodbye and they say they do a course for a specific reason, like an IELTS exam or whatever. They do, but there are those people that just disappear, And I just want to say, okay, did I do something? I would like to have some feedback from them. That's all. That's the
Of
only
course.
thing. But yeah, that's the down
Yeah.
thing.
I've also had Yeah, I've also had a few of those that would disappear without saying anything. And then many of them, like 6, 8 months later, I get a message from them and they start booking again. But others, they never come back. So what I generally do is I just send them a message. Once they haven't booked for, let's say, 2 months, I send them a message and say, listen, thanks so much for the support. I really enjoyed our time together. I would like to get your feedback. If there's anything you think I can approach differently or do better. I don't want to, if I lose a student, I just gain something from that experience, because if I'm repeating something that puts off students and causes me to lose students, make sure that I correct that on my end. So, and generally then people would say, hi there, this is what's happening in my life right now. Or I've actually gotten feedback from one student saying they enjoyed it initially, but they want to do a bit more of this in the end. So you win some, you lose some. That's the reality.
Yeah. I did, and I do that. I do that because like you say, you invest in these people, and they become your friends, and you see them maybe twice, 3 times a week, or whatever it is. And some reply, and some do come back. Yeah. And the one good thing now, that another downside actually with Preply, which they've seemed to have corrected a little bit, is that students will book you out, and I'll have a full day. And then last minute, and I'll have a 10-hour day. And then last minute, they'll say, oh, I can't make it. So if you can have from 10 lessons, go down to like 7, that's 3 hours that you had booked, and someone else cannot book now because they just let you know last minute. That's frustrating. So.
For sure. What about one of the highlights?
The highlights is when your students they're so appreciative. They become your friends, and at the end of the day, when you work out what you've earned, like December was a top month for me. I was like, wow, it's worth it. It's worth it. It's your own time. For me, I love it because I'm in control. It's my own time. I can teach what I like. I can do what I like, and I think that's what I love. And then you can earn well eventually.
For sure. Yeah, and I think the key word being eventually.
Yes, you have to be patient.
For sure. Well, it's impressive that December was a good finance, because I mean, for us as South Africans, I took 1 week off in December, one in January. But I get this question a lot where people would ask, listen, in December, does it die down? Or if I want to work, can I? And I think it's important to note that probably the downtimes would be around about July, August for some European countries. But even in those times, I've never had it drop more than 25%, at least in my personal experience. I'm not sure what you've seen.
Actually, when I say December, I must say, because I don't pull out the money at the end of the month. I do it like at the beginning. So it's not December. Actually, what it was November, going into like till the 8th of December. That's when I did it. So it was more November. Yeah. And then December did slow down a lot.
Yeah.
But I still managed to go away and do 1 or 2. So you would do maybe 1 or 2 or 3 lessons a day, or 4 sometimes.
Yeah.
So much less than what I was doing. But yeah.
On that note, how many lessons on average do you teach a day?
It depends. I've gone up to 11, 10, sometimes 8, but like sometimes 6 or 7. But like I remember you said to me, you're the things you tell me I'll never forget. You said you aim for 8. So 8 is my goal all the time, but sometimes I've done 11. Once or twice or 3 times I've done 11.
Yeah, I remember those days. Listen, for the first year, that was my life. 11 hours a day, easy. Whereas now, after just over 3 years, I'm around about averaging about 4 a day, and I'm quite happy.
It's exhausting. No, it's exhausting. It is exhausting. I know.
100%. Couldn't agree more. So, Dezzi, you mentioned that, or earlier you referenced IELTS, but tell us a bit more about what do you teach? Are you mostly focused on conversational? Do you do some exam prep? And even within conversational, is it business people, or what's it like?
Yes. I have, I would say, like I say, about 98% business people, young, from the ages of about 22 to about 35. Most of mine are business people. So I do mostly conversation, but I do top up on lots of things that I found on the internet. I don't do lots of interesting things that you find on the internet on grammar, phrasal verbs, those kind of things. I love those things because it helps people, pronunciation. But most of my students want to speak. They're in the business industry, and they need to learn for work.
Of course, yeah. And on that note, Dezzi, another question that I get from a lot of teachers that are already working and they've got quite full schedules is the issue of finding materials, and should you spend money on lesson materials and shouldn't you? What's been your experience with finding good lesson materials to use in your lessons?
It's hard. I find it hard to find good lesson material, and especially for people that are like the C1 level, people that want to just get better and speak better. There's not a lot. And I don't pay for anything, actually, to be honest with you. I look everywhere and I just find what I need. Because I find if you buy something, it's the same and the same and the same, and it's kind of boring, So I just look everywhere. I don't teach the same things, and the news is always inspiring, There's a few sites that I found, and getting them to read and pronounce better, because basically they just want to speak,
Yeah,
they just
exactly.
want to speak.
And that's a very good point, because I mean, you've now been teaching for upwards of 18 months. You haven't spent any money on buying lesson materials. Same with me, and I think it's important to know that it's possible. You can find enough things online. Some might need you to tweak it a little bit, but it's definitely possible. You don't have to spend loads of money on lesson materials. And even, I mean, there are some teachers out there that spend money on lesson materials, and there's obviously nothing wrong with that. But that in its turn sort of creates another market. I remember 2 years ago when I saw a bit of a dip in my bookings around about November. I decided to sort of create my own little program, like a 21 days living life in English. And I did that with my students. I upped my bookings about 60 to 70%. And then once I finished that, I was like, well, maybe I could sell that. And I just literally went onto Facebook, advertised it, and I made quite a good amount of money with that. So if you, I mean, for those out there listening to this, if you are someone that enjoys creating materials, I mean, there's a market even for you to earn an income from selling lesson materials to other willing buyers out there on the net.
Yeah.
Dezzi, a final question that I want us to wrap up with is, what are some of your goals as an online teacher for 2024? Is that something you think about, and would you mind sharing it with us?
Yes. My goal is to get over to earn more so that I can work less, because you're very tired, and I do work at night as well. So I'm exhausted by the time 9:30 comes and I've had my last 2 lessons at night. I'm exhausted. So my aim is to raise my price eventually to a good amount. But I also I think you can also include like something else. Like, I think you, in your blurb, you mentioned something about being a mentor. And one thing that my students always tell me is that I'm more than their English teacher, I'm their psychologist. So
Brilliant.
I was thinking of doing like some kind of course, and I don't know if it's psychology or life course or whatever, and including that into my Preply, CV thing, and see what that brings. That's my goal for this year.
That's a great idea. And you're filling up your schedule on Preply. No need for another school or a platform at this point in time.
Not at this point. No. I have never tried. Like I said, it was Pulfish, and now Preply. And if I'm working 10, 11 hours, I can't fit in another one. But I wouldn't even know who to choose at this stage. But I'm being very happy with Preply so far.
Yeah. If ever that changes, let me know. I have some names.
Okay.
Very good options for freelance platforms where it's not a school that tells you what you need to do and when you need to do it. It's also a freelance platform that's quite competitive with Preply as well.
Good.
That I've been using for some time as well. So yeah, you can definitely let me know if you want that.
Fantastic. We'll do that.
Great.
Thank you.
Well, Dezzi, this has been a lot of fun. I assume you, being a night owl, you still have some lessons for the remainder of the day?
I have one tonight, yes. I actually have one at 5, and I have one at tonight too.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Well, Dezzi, thanks so much. I really appreciate your time. If anyone wants to ask Dezzi some questions about how she's managed to be so successful on the freelance side of things, maybe how she manages to retain her students, let me know, and I'm sure I can put her in contact with you if you'd like to do so. So with that said, I want to thank everyone for joining in today. For those watching the recordings, if you have any questions about online teaching or you want to get better at it, feel free to make contact with me. My email address will be in the description of this video. And then, as I mentioned, we will weekly have these interviews on Mondays normally. Next week, we've got Gabby joining us, sharing her story a little bit, and we'll keep it going for or throughout 2024. And we hope that we can help all of you be better at what you're doing as online teachers, or even help you launch your career as an online teacher. So thanks so much. Thanks, Dezzi, and have a good week.
Thank you. Bye.